Let's look at how to make comparisons using the. It's a structure that is new to us. And before we move on, let's look at some structures that we're already familiar with. So remember, when we want to compare two things, we need to use specific language. Have a look at this picture. So what can we say about this picture? Well, John is taller than Billy. As you can see, John is on the left. Or we can say Billy is shorter than John. The same thing. Some of you might even know the structure Billy is not as tall as John. But in any case, we're using specific language to make comparisons, to compare two things. Let's remind ourselves of the 4 rules of comparative adjectives. Well, firstly, we've got the short adjectives. So those adjectives with one sound, one syllable, like big becomes bigger, tall, taller, short, shorter. So these short adjectives. Then we have the long adjectives. Those are the ones with 2 syllables or more, like in the example here, difficult. It's got 3 syllables, difficult. And we use more or less with the adjective to make the comparison. So English is more difficult than Arabic. Then we have the adjectives that finish with the letter Y. So look at the spelling. In this example, we have happy. Happy becomes happier than. We're changing the Y to an I and then adding ER. So silly, sillier. Lazy, lazier. Busy, busier. And finally, we have the irregular adjectives. There's nothing we can do about these, we just have to learn them. But fortunately, there's only a few of them. So good becomes better. Bad becomes worse. Far becomes further. Now, this structure, the, which is what we're looking at today, we can use more with a noun, or we can use comparative adjectives. And we're comparing two things, two situations. We're making a comparison or contrast between two things. Let's have a look at the example that you had in your workbook. The more computers with UFP installed on them, the more protection is guaranteed. So we're using more with a noun and more with a noun. The more computers, the more protection. Or we can use, again from your book, comparative adjectives. So the faster the system, the better the performance. I guess we could say the slower the system, the worse the performance. Same thing, isn't it? So let's have a look at this example here. We can see somebody with lots of books, an iPad, study, and oh, look at that grade. Nice. So we could say here, the more I study, the better my grades. We're looking at that relationship between studying and grades. Let's look at another one. Oh dear, doesn't look like he's had a good night. And look at him the next day in the office. Okay, so we could perhaps say the less sleep he gets, the more tired he is. So what do we need to remember? We're using the with a comparative structure and the with a comparative structure to show the relationship between two things. We're comparing, we're contrasting. I don't eat, I get hungry. So the less I eat, the hungrier I get. There's our example. So now it's over to you. It's your turn to practice what you've seen on this video. There's lots of exercises for you to do. If you need to watch it again, watch it again. It's here for you to watch as many times as you want. And remember, the more you watch, the easier it becomes.